Go, Monica.
Oh, I'm just waiting. Hello, everyone. I'm Monica Wynn with Elm Medical. Thank you for joining us during the Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month. Welcome back to those who have joined us on our previous webinar 2 weeks ago on navigating the ever-changing social media platforms. If you missed it, it's now live on amputeecoalition.org. Today's webinar recording will be available next week for your reference. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask the chat box, and we will be happy to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. This is part 2 of our webinar of our social media series. What now? Social media has changed once again. Are you exhausted of the mental highs and lows of social media use? We'll be discussing ways to watch out for the red flags and steer clear of the hazards while still maintaining a healthy experience on your favorite social media platforms. Now, a little bit about us and why we are here with this opportunity to share with you today. Again, hello. I'm Monica Wynn. We are pleased to meet everyone. Here with me today is our lovely team, Taylor Newman and Regina Story. We are Elm Medical in collaboration with the Amputee Coalition, presenting mental wellness education to support your wellness journey. If you would like more information on our health and wellness services, please visit our website at elmmedical.com or scan the QR code with your mobile device camera, which will pop up a link that takes you right to our website. Also follow us on LinkedIn by typing linkedin.com/company/elm-medical for resources and tips to support your health and wellness journey. Did you know, on average, adults consume 16 hours of media per day through various devices. 69% of American adults use social media sites, spending an average of 2 hours and 39 minutes per day. That's 19 hours a week, 74 hours a month, and 37 days a year. That's more than an entire month. Let's look at how increase in social media use may cause issues for both your physical and mental health. In this presentation, we cover important information that will help navigate your online social journey and steer clear of the hazards that may arise. We'll be covering 3 super important topics: comparison trap, becoming overwhelmed with what you see online, red flags, how to recognize online bullying and how to disarm them, striking a balance with screen time, and when does a healthy thing become unhealthy? And lastly, our question and answer segment. Please welcome Taylor Newman on comparison trap.
Thank you, Monica. Have you ever had feelings of jealousy or envy develop while scrolling through Instagram? Yes, I did very recently. While writing this webinar, I received notification that my friend just landed in Paris. My first reaction was excitement for the experiences he'll be having. Then I found myself starting to be a little jealous. I want to be arriving in Paris and feel the freedom of exploring the city, eating great food and living the culture. This person is about to do all the things that I want to be doing right now, while having the time of his life. Instead, I'm in my office working over the weekend. These negative thoughts brought me bad feelings that my life wasn't as good as my friends. I asked myself, how can you live this charmed life? Well, in reality, his life isn't better or worse than mine. This was me comparing a flashpoint of someone else's experience on social media, a negative mindset that can lead to some serious problems. So what are some of these warning signs of the comparison trap? Well, first is increased depression, developing a poor body image, decreased well-being, and even eating disorders. People are most likely to share their peak experience and flattering news about themselves. So let's look at some of these triggers. First is FOMO, fear of missing out, social status, physical appearance, material possessions, success and achievements, relationships, travel and adventure, and happiness and contentment. How do they affect you, though? Feelings of pressure to follow these glamorized images and standards can lead to a range of negative effects, including body dissatisfaction, low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. So let's dive into each one. First, FOMO, fear of missing out. Seeing other people's experience on social media can make us feel like we're missing out on something in our lives. And Regina will touch on this later. Then we have people's physical appearance, unrealistic beauty standards that can lead to body image issues and unhealthy comparisons. Material possessions that people post all the time, cars and boats. They often share these possessions on social media, which contribute feelings of envy and the need to keep up with others, like the Joneses. People's success and achievements. Well, other people's success and achievements can make us feel like we're not doing enough in our own lives, leading us to feelings of failure and inadequacy. And then people's social status. Social media can make us feel that we're not living up to the expectations of our peers, and leading to feelings of inadequacy and also low self-esteem. Now, everybody has seen pictures of travel and adventures, right? And they can make us feel that we're not experiencing enough, of enough travel, of enough adventure, leading to restlessness and dissatisfaction of our own lives, like what I experienced writing this at the beginning of this webinar. We all like to post things with the happiness and showing joyfulness and even contentment, but seeing it over and over, other people's seamlessly perfect lives on social media can make us feel that we're not happy or content enough in our own lives. Then relationships. Social media can create this illusion of a perfect relationship, which can lead to feelings of loneliness and dissatisfaction in our personal relationships. So let's go over a self-assessment of the comparison trap. First, do you spend a significant amount of time scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to others? Do you feel envious or jealous of other social media posts, such as vacations, relationships, or material possessions? Do you feel pressure to present a perfect image of yourself on social media and then get anxious or stressed out if you don't get enough likes or comments? You feel that your self-worth is tied to your social media presence and what you post, and that you need to consistently prove yourself to your followers? Do you find yourself making negative comparisons between your life and the lives of others on social media? Do you feel that you are missing out on things that others on social media seem to be enjoying? And finally, do you feel that you are not living up to the expectations set by social media and that you need to do more to be successful or happy? If you answered yes to several of these questions, you may be struggling with the social media comparison trap. It's important to remember that social media is a curated, highlighted reel, and it does not represent the full picture of someone's life. So take breaks from social media, set healthy boundaries, and focus on your own journey and goals. Practice self-care and self-compassion. And remind yourself that of the good things in your life, the social media may not show. Amputee Coalition Improving Your Wellbeing program offers additional assets and resources for overall health for their members with limb loss and limb difference. And ultimately, social media comparisons are not indicative of what others have that you don't, but rather what you already have but aren't quite aware of yet. So let's redirect our focus, right? When you direct your attention toward the real world and you spend less time and energy to direct toward meaningless activities such as social media comparison, immerse yourself in activities that leave you feeling better or for having engaged in them. Kind of versus the doom scrolling or stalking, which leaves you wishing you had. As unpleasant as these these comparisons can feel, they can serve as a positive purpose in that they inform us of an area of our lives that we may benefit from some improvement. This moment is a perfect time to self-assess our mindfulness and remember, no one is perfect or living the perfect life on social media. Also remember that we want to be secure enough in who we are and where we are. And we don't need to feel the need to measure it in a comparison to anybody else, especially some stranger online. So let's look at how to avoid some of these traps. First, putting a higher value on our relationships, and understanding that we have amazing friends and family. Try to become more present in interactions with them, as well as interactions with complete strangers. Valuing your time more, practicing putting your needs first, and learning to accept that it's okay to do that. Doing more of what you love, doing things simply because you like to do them, will give you an increased amount of self-value. And I'm going to say this probably again and again, eating well and moving, putting your body in motion for at least 30 minutes a day, even if it's just to walk the dog or stretching, and eating small healthy meals throughout the day puts a higher value on your body by eating clean and getting exercise. This will naturally give you a higher sense of self-worth. So next time you make an unfair comparison to somebody online, instead of allowing it to make you feel poorly about yourself, view it as an opportunity for a little self-evaluation. So some triggers are from influences that we see on social media. The others are red flags, and this is harassment on online trolls. The Pew Research study conducted a recent study and found that 40% of US adults have experienced some sort of harassment. Did you know of that 41%, 26% of harassment was direct embarrassment. 11% was sexual harassment, and 14% were messages of physical threats. And the harassment doesn't stop just at Facebook or just at Instagram, but across multiple platforms. The Pew Research Center also said that over 40% of harassment happens over multiple platforms. So from Facebook to Instagram to Snapchat. So if you feel like you're being harassed or possibly harassing, stop what you're doing. Put your phone down and close your computer. Take a mindful moment and just breathe. Give your mind the ability to clear and transition your body into a relaxed state. These bullies' goal is to harass, threaten, and/or intimidate you. Then they want to provoke you to respond. We will now look at the warning signs that you're dealing with an internet troll or bully. So first, offensive name calling, purposeful embarrassment, online stalking, physical threats, sexual harassment, and then period, a sustained harassment over days, weeks, months, and months. But some harassment is not as obvious, like microaggressive comments. These comments or actions subtly and often unconsciously and unintentionally express a stereotype or prejudice towards attitude towards a member of a marginalized group. So you're being bullied. What do? Well, first, don't respond. Block and ignore. Report them to the platform. They have policies on this behavior and community guidelines we all have to follow. Now, a really important one is screenshot or capture all communication for evidence of harassment, and then contact the authorities. You're ready to submit that evidence. Remember to be mindful of what you post so you don't become a bully. Be an example of good online behavior. For instance, How are others using your posts or comments? Check how they are sharing your content and block or restrict if it is used as harassment or to bully. These interactions can be overwhelming and can cause fear, anxiety, and depression. Contact someone you feel comfortable with, comfortable speaking with, like a friend, family, or colleague. Or even if you feel the need for some extra help, then reach out to a mental health professional. Remember, help is out there. This is why we are here, to help you navigate your online experience. Talk about striking a balance with your screen time, because it's just another way to get caught up in a spiral. Welcome, Regina Story, to help us discuss.
Thank you, Taylor. You get a like. Hello, everyone. Thank you again, Taylor. Together, we're going to discuss managing screen time and how to strike a balance to support your mental wellness journey. What is screen time? Well, screen time can mean a lot of things. In essence, our attention and exposure to content focused on devices like smartphones, personal computers, and television. Anything that has a screen. Eventually developing a dependency on digital devices because of our ever-increasing daily screen time we allow, which leads to some brain pathway changes. So let's look at some statistics of how much screen time we utilize daily and what for. Research indicates that the average American spends 7 hours looking at a screen each day, which has increased nearly by 50 minutes per day since 2013 for internet connected activities. This could be for work purposes or leisure and entertainment. So let's think about that. Roughly 40% of our waking hours if you average 7 hours of sleep a day. So we spend as much time on a screen as we do sleeping a day. Ask yourself, does this cancel each other out and seem balanced while also thinking about other activities outside of when you're sleeping and on that screen? And what are we using the majority of the 7 hours of screen time for? So we're going to look at some various activities and channels. And again, this is time spent, not quote unquote work-related activities. 36% of this time is scrolling through social media channels, 21% listening to podcasts, similarly 21% streaming music, and of the majority of this time, which is 54%, is spent on our mobile devices. So let's be real with ourselves. Really think about how much time do you spend on a screen daily? 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours? I ask you this question with the self-awareness of my own screen time usage as I'm creating this webinar, have the TV on in the background, and checking in on my iPhone from time to time. We probably don't even realize or really take into account how much of our lives are devoted to screen time. So be mindful of your intentions, right? And if you are using social media for professional purposes, you may spend more time on a screen. As Taylor shared, do a self-assessment to stay clear of the pitfall of scrolling endlessly. You know, doom scrolling. So today we're going to look at social media screen time specifically and discuss how social media use can help and hurt you. From recent studies, here are some ways that social media helps. Watching stimulating videos that foster creativity and curiosity. By making you feel not alone, it gives you an escape when you're feeling very anxious. Access to visuals and bite-sized information related to coping strategies and mental health. You follow positive accounts that inspire you. You feel connected to a greater whole. You follow accounts that support your mental health journey, like the participants within the Amputee Coalition that share similar experiences. And you connect with friends that are far away and newfound friends. and we like newfound friends. So how does a healthy thing turn into an unhealthy thing? Although social media may provide greater connectivity, information, and creativity, while mindful use of digital devices is linked with well-being, based on recent research, excessive screen time is reported to be associated with a range of negative mental health outcomes, such as psychological problems, low emotional stability, and greater risk for depression and anxiety. You have different styles of how you scroll through social media. So just be mindful of your intentions and how and what you are viewing and how the amount of your screen time is impacting you. Just be conscious of it and ask yourself if it is positively or negatively impacting you. The triggers and red flags Taylor shared earlier with you. If you let it, it can be healthy or unhealthy. Before we reveal some of the unhealthy impacts, I'd like to cover the infrastructure and information processing behind social media. You know, how the information gets shared and put in front of you daily on social media, which is called propagation. It's important to know the propagation models of social media to help you understand and create awareness of some of the potential harmful impacts on you, so you can make decisions on how to manage your interactions and content. So we look at three models of propagation. Again, sharing of information. It is subscription, network, and algorithm. The subscription model is pretty straightforward. An account you follow posts something that you see. In traditional media, this is called broadcast. In the network model, you see posts of an account you follow, but you also see posts that they have commented on that you do not follow. This could create possible viral posts. So we're going to take a few more minutes to understand the third model, which is the algorithmic model. Important to note, at this point, very few platforms implement a purely algorithmic model. So it's tricky to get a good handle on it. In the algorithmic model, accounts with similar interests are shared to each other. The ones that you are most likely to engage with on your usage by your behavior on social media. For example, TikTok's For You page is notably algorithmic. We have discussed the information propagation models, again, how information gets in front of you. So how could these models, specifically the algorithmic model, cause negative consequences on your health and well-being? The algorithmic model is complex and is created to work incredibly seamlessly that some might say or feel it's easy to impact you. And the formulas used are structured to get to know you very well. So how could this model that knows you so well potentially hurt you? And how can you adapt to have it work for your well-being? The content that it amplifies might not align with your idea of healthy discourse. We spoke about healthy discourse in part 1 of this webinar series. It could hurt your practice of healthy discourse when engaging in online conversations that are constructive, respectful, and beneficial to all parties involved. So remember your intent and if it is supporting your goals, because your intent will dictate your behavior and dictate the information in front of you. Lack of accountability and transparency. Just last week, as soon as I hit an ad for a moisturizing face cream, I immediately knew I was going to receive advertising on this cream in various forms. This was obvious at the time, but sometimes it's not obvious when the data is collected. So again, be mindful of what you click and what you spend too much time on. There is a different fairness, there's different fairness points of views of the process for the formula creators. In essence, one could see it one way and another could see it in another way and be unintentional, thus leading to potential bias. This process is heavily regulated. However, keep in mind the creators of the formulas are human and have different point of views. So this is a good time for you to step back and to reframe your thoughts to the what if scenarios. This may help better understand that the algorithmic process comes from a formula of fairness. I know this is not an easy practice at the time. Closing people off or limiting exposure from alternative viewpoints. Being repeatedly exposed to the same type of information could result in people being repeatedly shown content that is misleading or damaging, or also limiting exposure to economic opportunities. So consider viewing other verified accounts that you wouldn't normally view. You don't need to follow them if you don't want to, but it would be good to see what other people are exposed to. And this will help with your empathy and also opportunities. Then we have the bad actors targeting the infrastructure and systems. They have become increasingly attractive target for those eager to disrupt, but not in a good way. And really heighten the importance of the process to be resilient to these type of threats. These bad actors cause disruption at the core of the process. However, it may expand and impact you. As Taylor mentioned, be mindful of trolls and possible threats and reports. Undermine your individual autonomy. When you may feel manipulated to do things you wouldn't, buy things you wouldn't, or believe things that you normally wouldn't. So do a self-check and ask yourself, why are you doing this or acting like this? Was this your original intent? And lastly, unhealthy competition. This could facilitate collusion and lead to higher prices for consumers. So you end up spending more money and get frustrated and have less cash in the bank. So do your due diligence and keep the source in mind and check outside of the media platform for the deal that you wanted. I have just shared some of the behind the scenes of how algorithmic processes could be unhealthy for you. Let's glance at some ways these processes, along with your subscription and network connections, could acutely harm you. From a recent study, here are some ways social media hurts. Posts glorifying eating disorders. You lose track of time and end up scrolling the day away. Doom scrolling. Comparison trap. As Taylor shared, what are you comparing yourself to? Is it internet or real life? Black holes of negativity. Watching extremely unhealthy conflict in comments. Expecting people to respond as fast as you want them to. Looking at people having a life you wish you had. Seeing others that have a better looking body than you do, or a better job, a better car, a better house, more money, and I should be traveling. So I have just shared some of the acute impacts that hurt your well-being. Let's look at the long-term impacts on your well-being, which are poor sleep, increased stress and anxiety, obesity, cardiovascular disorders, psychological health effects, suicidal tendencies, symptoms of depression, which are all associated with digital device dependency. So there is an absolute dependency to our screens. This is reality, and it's important for us to function. But we want to move away from digital device dependency and progress to a constructive dependency on our digital gadgets, especially screens, in a way that enhances and supports our daily activities and goals, rather than getting in the way of them. And that is called constructive dependency. For example, a friend of ours this past weekend dealt with his iPhone not working, and let's just say it changed him for a while, made him cranky. What some would call a smartphone addiction, sometimes known as nomophobia, no mobile phone phobia, which is the fear of being without a mobile phone and is often fueled by an internet. Eventually, he shifted his mindset and became present in the moment. And we are all vulnerable to this thing called nomophobia. It's the mindset shifts and self-assessment practice to focus on the intentional and beneficial use of screens to manage the times where we could become cranky. So how do you strike a balance to support constructive dependency with our lovely screens? By clearing the blurred understanding between healthy and unhealthy social connectedness, because both the healthy and unhealthy will be there. So today we're going to discuss managing your screen time and how this will help you get as much of the healthy aspects as you can. So how do you manage your screen time? We are going to discuss these 4 ways: affirm your purpose, establish and set boundaries, be present, and practice the pause. So affirm your purpose. What are your goals? We shared the different strategies and benefits and audience of each platform in our part 1 of this webinar series. So ask yourself, is your purpose to connect with friends or family and to meet new people? Or is it to promote professional content, increase knowledge, or for you to inspire or be inspired? Establish healthy boundaries for yourself. Distinguish between the things that you cannot control versus what you can control, which is your mind and your screen time. The various boundaries you set with social media screen time use will focus and help the impacts on your physical, your emotional, your sexual, your intellectual, your material, time, spiritual, and social boundaries, and don't feel guilty about it. Be present and plan for yourself. Give yourself this gift. As Taylor mentioned earlier, FOMO. We want to move away from FOMO, which is fear of missing out, to FOMOI, fear of missing out on yourself. Remember, your personal time is essential and necessary for you to recharge. Carve out some time for yourself and do things that you enjoy, and practice the pause. Just take a break. It can be for a few minutes, a few hours, a few days. It will prove to be very helpful for your mindset, because being everywhere all the time is exhausting, and we all think we can do it, but not so much. Now, Monica will guide us through the recap of the topics and takeaways from this discussion today and our questions and answers segment. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, Regina. As we are getting ready to wrap up our presentation, just a quick reminder that the chat box is open for any questions you may have. Now, let's review. Comparison trap. Taylor guided us through signs, as most of us are guilty of, comparing our lives to someone else's glamorized life and increasing the risk of depression, and being mindful and notice on what may trigger you. Self-reflect and focus on what you do have to develop a stronger sense of confidence. Red flags and how to recognize online harassment, bullies, and when you are potentially becoming one. Change the narrative and lead by example. And last, but certainly not least, Regina covered the benefits of striking a balance. Affirm your purpose and goals when using social media. establish boundaries, being present, and emphasizing the importance of taking a break. We hope that we were able to help you successfully navigate the ever-changing challenges of social media now and in the future. Now let's dive into some questions. Taylor, I believe this question is a good one for you. Jack asks, what are some tips to help recognize if I am possibly bullying?
Well, Jack, best way is if you're concerned about that you may be bullying someone online, let's first pay attention to your behavior and language online. If you're consistently making negative comments or putting people down or threatening others, this could be considered bullying. Second, think about your behavior, how the behaviors is affecting others. Are people avoiding you, blocking you online? Are you receiving negative feedback from others? This can be signs that your behavior is crossing the line. Third, be aware of the impact your behavior can have. Cyberbullying can have serious consequences for the victim, including depression, anxiety, and even suicide. And I think finally, be willing to take responsibility for your behavior and make changes if necessary. It's important to treat others with kindness and respect, and both in person and online.
Chelly asks, what do I do when I enjoy a specific account, but I follow, but sometimes it makes me feel a little bad?
Let me answer this one, Regina. If you're really enjoying the specific account and it is bringing up some of those bad feelings, let's first take a break from that account if it's causing you that significant distress. Think about identifying what specifically about that account is causing you to feel bad, and really kind of assess to see if it's worth continuing to follow. You also could engage with the content differently, such as limiting your time on the account or unfollowing certain types of the posts. And I think finally, seek support from someone you trust if the account is causing you significant distress. Remember to prioritize your mental health and your well-being above all else. And, also, we could also open a window of tolerance, right? Not everyone thinks like us. It's okay to view others and not follow. Follow your values and challenge your negative thinking. Manage your mindset. Be responsible and move on.
Couldn't have said that better myself. Okay, so Rebecca shared that she is noticing ads and content that seems to stem from a post that she viewed. How does this happen so quickly?
Well, thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, keep in mind the algorithmic process that we discussed earlier, and your intent and your behavior online is why it shows up so quickly. Again, your intent dictates your behavior. So if you are interested in a product, take a screenshot of the product and then look at it off the social media platform. Also, if you're interested in other accounts, but you're not quite sure where it's going to, don't follow them. Be quick about doom scrolling. And again, more time you spend on certain accounts will show the algorithm that you are engaged with it, and then it will pop up more in your feed.
So we have one last one. Arliss shared that he does a lot of promotion for his professional work on social media, which is screen time, as we had mentioned. What's a good way to manage the time for professional versus personal use?
Well, be mindful during your working hours and your personal hours, which are different. I know sometimes they could bleed into each other. So to manage your screen time, keep your focus on your separate purposes. One could be for professional content, and the other could be to look at, leisure activities or entertainment. And then set limits on both personal and professional social media use.
I believe that should wrap it up for our question and answer segment for today. Well, thank you guys for answering those questions. I found them useful myself. So, and
Well,
thank
great.
you everyone else for being on here with us today. And thank you, Anna Maria. I think
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
that-